Luma had crossed many stars before she reached the blue world. Her home was a dry planet of red sand and hard wind. Water there was rare and guarded. On her world, people walked with care and learned to save every drop. Luma had trained as a scout and observer. She came to learn how other species lived. She did not expect to be afraid of water. The first sight of the planet made her uneasy. Clouds rolled like living things. Oceans covered most of the surface. Rivers cut the land like shining scars. Luma felt small as her ship descended. She wrapped her light cloak tighter and watched the waves move as if they were alive. She met the human guide at a coastal station. His name was Kai. He was calm and smiled often. He spoke slowly for her translator. He did not seem worried by the endless water around them. Luma noted this with care. On her world, such calm near open water would be rare. Kai led her along a path of stone and metal. The air smelled wet and fresh. Luma tasted salt on her tongue. She felt the pull of the sea like a whisper calling her closer. She stopped many times to steady herself. Kai waited each time without hurry. They reached a wide platform above the water. Below them, the sea moved in long, dark waves. Luma looked down and felt her legs shake. She asked why humans built so close to danger. Kai laughed softly and said the sea was not only danger. He said it was a friend that fed them and carried them. Luma found this idea strange. She watched humans nearby move with ease. Some stood on boards and rode the waves. Others swam like sleek animals. Children jumped from the platform and vanished into the water, only to rise again with joy. Luma could not understand how they survived. On her world, a fall into deep water meant death. Heavy bodies sank. Breathing ended. Panic took over. She told Kai this truth. He listened with respect. He said humans learned early how to move in water. He said they trusted their bodies and each other. Luma asked what he meant by plunge. Kai pointed to the edge of the platform. He explained that humans often leapt into water on purpose. They did it for work and for play. They did it to save others. Luma felt a shock pass through her. Purposeful descent into water was madness to her kind. Kai offered to show her in a safe way. He led her to a training pool near the station. The pool was clear and calm. Luma stood far from the edge. She watched humans practice dives. They folded their bodies and cut into the water like arrows. No fear showed on their faces. Kai explained the tools they used. He showed her a light vest that helped bodies float. He showed her how to breathe with control. He spoke of lungs and pressure and trust. Luma listened and tried to understand. Her heart still raced. She asked why humans evolved this skill. Kai said the planet demanded it. He said humans were fragile on land and sea. They survived by adapting. They learned to run and climb and swim. They learned to face fear again and again. Luma remembered stories of her own people. They survived storms of sand and heat. They dug deep and waited. They avoided danger when they could. Humans seemed different. They met danger and learned from it. Days passed as Luma observed life near the sea. She watched rescue crews train in rough water. She watched fishers work with waves taller than her ship. She saw humans dive again and again without hesitation. Each time they returned. One evening a storm rose fast. The sky darkened. Alarms sounded along the coast. A small craft was in trouble near the rocks. Luma stood with Kai as crews prepared to launch. Wind tore at their gear. Waves crashed like thunder. Luma felt fear claw at her chest. The water was angry. No one could survive in that chaos. She said this aloud. Kai looked at the sea and nodded. He said it was dangerous. He said they would try anyway. The rescue team moved as one. They ran and leapt into the water with lines and lights. Luma cried out as bodies vanished into foam. She could not breathe. She waited for screams that did not come. Minutes stretched long. Then shapes rose from the waves. The team returned with survivors held tight. Cheers broke out along the platform. Luma felt her legs give way. She sat and stared at the humans soaked and smiling. Later, she asked Kai how they found the strength. He said it was not strength alone. It was choice. Humans chose to act even when afraid. They trained for that moment. They trusted the plunge because they trusted the plan and the people beside them. Luma felt something change inside her. She thought of her own fear and limits. She wondered what her people might learn. She did not wish to leap into water, but she wished to understand courage shaped by environment. Before she left the planet, Kai offered one last lesson. He took her to a quiet shore at dawn. The sea was gentle and clear. He asked if she wished to try a simple float with support. Luma hesitated. She remembered the storm and the rescue. She nodded once. They fitted the vest and entered the shallow water together. Luma felt the cool touch and gasped. She fought the urge to flee. Kai spoke calmly and held her steady. She leaned back and felt the vest lift her. She was not sinking. For a moment, fear ruled her thoughts. Then she felt the rhythm of the water. It held her. She floated and stared at the sky. The world did not end. She laughed in surprise. She did not plunge that day. But she learned why humans could. They did not deny fear. They built knowledge and trust around it. They turned a hostile world into a home. When Luma returned to the stars, she carried this lesson. On a desert world or a watery one, survival was shaped by choice. Humans chose to meet the deep and learn to rise again. That was their quiet strength. Luma recorded her findings with care. She wrote of anatomy and tools and training. She also wrote of mindset. She noted that humans treated learning as a shared act. Elders taught the young. The skilled guided the new. Failure was expected and studied. This approach reduced fear over time. She visited a learning hall where children practiced movement in water under watchful eyes. Instructors corrected posture and breath. Games turned drills into joy. Luma saw how early exposure built calm. She compared this with her own world, where danger was avoided and hidden. She realized that avoidance preserved life, but also limited growth. Kai introduced her to a historian who spoke of ancient voyages. Humans once crossed oceans with fragile craft. Many failed. Many learned. Maps grew accurate. Stories spread warnings and hope. The sea became known, though never tame. Luma felt respect for a culture that accepted loss yet continued. She asked if humans ever wished for a dry world. The historian smiled and said every world shapes its people. A dry world taught patience and restraint. A wet world taught motion and resilience. Neither was superior. Each held lessons. Luma spent time with engineers who built barriers and harbors. They did not fight the sea directly. They studied tides and currents. They placed structures to guide force rather than block it. This echoed Kai words about plans and trust. The plunge was not reckless when guided by understanding. As departure neared, Luma faced a choice. She could leave with knowledge alone, or she could test her courage once more. She chose a middle path. She asked to observe a controlled plunge from a low height with full support. Kai agreed and prepared the setting. The platform was small and the water shallow. Safety lines were set. Luma stood at the edge and breathed as taught. She felt fear rise and pass. She stepped forward and let gravity take her. The water closed around her and then released her upward. She emerged with a startled cry that turned into laughter. The experience was brief, yet profound. She had entered the deep and returned. She felt pride not in bravery, but in learning. The humans cheered with gentle warmth. That night, Luma looked at the sea one last time. She no longer saw only threat. She saw a teacher. She sent a message home describing humans who plunged by choice and survived by design. She urged her people to study environments beyond comfort. The ship lifted and the blue world shrank. Luma felt gratitude. The watery planet had challenged her assumptions. Humans had shown that adaptation could be active rather than passive. They did not wait for the world to be safe. They made themselves ready. Far from the coast, Kai returned to his routine. He guided others and watched storms. He remembered the visitor from sand and wind. He smiled at the thought that courage traveled between stars and small lessons. Across space, Luma shared her story. Councils listened. Young scouts asked questions. New training began with careful steps. The desert people would not become swimmers overnight, but they would learn to face fear with knowledge. In that way, the plunge became a symbol rather than an act. And so the meeting of worlds left a mark. A desert girl learned from a watery home. Humans learned that their quiet skills inspired others. The galaxy turned a little brighter through shared courage. The report ended with a simple note: fear is natural. Training shapes response. Community sustains effort. Luma believed this truth would endure. Long after names faded, the lesson would remain. Humans could plunge because they prepared together. Others could learn in their own way. Worlds differed, yet hope aligned. Adaptation was not surrender. It was art. It was patience joined with action. In that balance, survival became story. And the story traveled onward. Stars shifted as the vessel moved. Luma rested and dreamed of waves without fear. She woke with resolve. Tomorrow she would teach. Tomorrow she would listen. Between sand and sea, a bridge existed. It was built from trust and learning. The galaxy would cross it slowly and safely together. This understanding marked a beginning and an end.